Okay, welcome everybody. Verl Workman here, CEO of Workman Success Systems, and welcome to our Wednesday's Flash Briefing. I'm excited today to have a very special guest, a true VIP, one of the great leaders in our industry, Amy Somerville, Senior Vice President of Professional Development and Engagement for RE/MAX LLC International. It's exciting to have you here. Amy, thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me, and well done on the title piece there.
It's about as exciting as we can make it. So Amy and I have known each other for a few years now. We've had a lot of interaction and done some projects together, and just we're very much aligned in the way we think about how to educate the people that we serve. And Amy's one of the breaths of fresh air in the real estate industry, who's constantly thinking about how to make things better. How do we create more engagement? How do we create more technology? How do we get our people to adopt the things that we're putting out there? And I love that, Amy. I love the energy that you bring to every interaction that we have. And as you come onto the Facebook Live, just say hello to Amy and let us know where you're from. We're going to give you an opportunity. Bob Sokoler says hello. Jackie Sandler says good afternoon. April Ray says the setup looks amazing and there's no lag. Everything's working great.
Okay.
Amy, you're working and you're running this international company with education. How has this pandemic changed the way your agents have engaged? What do you guys do? What are you guys doing?
Oh goodness. You know, Verl, within the first day of stay-at-home orders here in Colorado, I think there are two responses to something like this. There's a reaction that is fear-based and a bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening, and maybe when I wake up tomorrow things will be back to normal approach. And then there's another one that is, oh my goodness, we need to pivot and change right now, and we need to provide as much value as possible. And that is where we sat from a RE/MAX University perspective. Was people need us right now. They need to feel connected. They need to know what they need to know. They need to have sources of information that is not just sensationalized media. They need to share best practices with each other and feel like they're not alone in this, and be able to reach across a network that is worldwide and find benefit in not only the connections, but maybe even in role-playing scripts and you know what digital or virtual approaches are most effective. And that was kind of what we did. We just hit the ground running, and as you know, because you've been a part of our series, which is great, we hit the ground running and said we are going to provide virtual and live training every day of the week for brokers, for agents, just so that they can, again, have something that is consistent, something that is inspirational, but something that they can take away that's tangible, applicable information that they can apply to their business in an interesting time.
So that's a pretty, I mean, it seemed like there wasn't a delay. It was like almost immediate from knowing that the pandemic was real, that RE/MAX really took a proactive approach. A lot of people kind of stood back and waited to see what everybody else was doing. You guys kind of just jumped in. What would you say has been the most impactful strategy that you've implemented over this last 6-8 weeks?
There have been several things. Recently did a presentation for some brokers in the Mid-States Dixie region, and I was given 25 minutes to cover, all kinds of items and value and tools that we've rolled out over the last little bit that they may not know about. And I was talking a mile a minute as I, talk really, really, really fast to get through everything. And at the end, it was kind of a joke of, gosh, you got through a lot of information just a short period of time. And I said, well, that should be an example, right? That kind of is the living, breathing analogy of what we've been doing behind the scenes for the last 7 weeks. We did everything from, like I said, the education perspective, which, you kind of asked about the trends. Probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, people were into doing virtual training, but distance learning was still not preferred over live training. We're hearing not only are we experiencing it at RU, but we're hearing from our offices around the world that they're experiencing the same thing. People are really dialed into the virtual experience, and we think that's probably going to continue. That opportunity is going to continue. So the education live every day of the week. We rolled out very quickly some technology tools as well. First.io is a company that RE/MAX acquired several months ago, and it is a machine learning and relationship technology, right? That helps you identify who you should be contacting in your database right now, which certainly came in handy during this last 5, 6, 7 weeks. We also rolled out unbelievable marketing, advertising campaign that was really, really heartfelt. We took a big pivot on our advertising campaign. So instead of going with the kind of the fun, lighthearted, we put a big pause on that and a quick pivot on we're going to rise above this together, and this is how we're going to do it. Broker to agent, agent to consumer, we're gonna take care of each other. We're gonna be all right. So between the technology tools, the education and training, and our marketing strategy pivot, I would say those were the big things that we rolled out right away. Zoom. We offered Zoom to all of our agents and offices because this is what we do all the time, right? This is where we live.
Are you starting to get any feedback about Zoom fatigue from people? Are they getting zoomed out yet?
I think we did this like kind of roller coaster, and it was Zoom all day, every day, back to back, and you started to hear that fatigue, but now we're kind of bouncing back up where people are enjoying, again, this being the new way of how we do business. Very likely it's going to play a major, it's going to be a major element. So, I think it's getting used to a new technology. Not everybody's a early adopter. I'm not typically your early adopter, but you dig in and you find some real benefits, ways of doing your business that you never really thought existed before.
Yeah, for me, I feel more connected to the Workman family of agents and clients than I ever have. And usually when we go on the road, we try and do meetups and we do things to connect. Well, now I'm seeing all of our clients on Zoom webinars, and they're asking questions. And I feel like, I don't know, it seems like we're less connected, but I actually feel more connected.
The conversations we've been having about Zoom, which is interesting, is hearing a lot from agents who are talking to their consumers through Zoom or any other, FaceTime or whatever. And the relationship that they're able to build virtually is happening faster, and it's a deeper relationship than it was before when we were face-to-face, belly-to-belly. And part of that is because this kind of technology brings down a wall a little bit. People don't feel as guarded or as they're as much a part of a sale, and you can get into conversations about the community and how people feel about certain restaurants or certain neighborhoods, or what they're really looking for and why that's so important. What's the why behind the decisions they're making? And so bonds and relationships are being built in a deeper manner than they ever have before. And who knew that technology would help us do that?
So are you ever on a call and you're like checking out people's home environment? Like I find myself going, oh, that's a cool painting, or hey, that's really, and I also notice, and maybe this is just because I'm a little bit whack, but I actually like it when the kids come in or the dog comes in and climb on your lap and they mess up your hair, and it just brings a realness to the interaction that doesn't usually exist. When I first started doing virtual events, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I think we've been doing webinars and online stuff. I would have to shut my door, lock the door, put the dog outside, have somebody stand guard to make sure that there was no interruption. And now all of a sudden it's like, let them in, just like I don't even care anymore. It's just like the interaction happens. It's different.
I haven't gotten there just yet. The kids have been told exactly what my live webinar schedules are today. They know what their time they're working with. Although in this moment, right as you said that, I heard the thumps of little dog feet go running by the back of the office. So
hey, if the girls come in or the dog comes in, we'll just introduce them to our family. I think it's great.
Good.
It's a fun thing. So on a serious note, what are some of the challenges that you've noticed? Like, with all the franchises you've had, there's got to be some things that have been, probably, scary for people. Like they're pulling back. I would think that we have to deal with people not wanting to pay fees, not knowing, uncertainty of where the next dollar is going to come from, a lack of transactions that are happening. You guys did something great with all of your, with all of the franchises that have a Workman Success platform, where you said, look, let's take a month and let's just cut their fees in half. And you've been very proactive with stuff like that. What are some of the challenges you're seeing that you've had to deal with? And I'd like to know how did you get past them? What were the tools or the thought process that we had to go through to get past them?
Really good question. I would say that everybody is in the same boat where, for the most part, people were not prepared for something like this. right? There was no crystal ball to say, hey, you need to be prepared because there may be a global pandemic that affects many, many industries, including the real estate industry. And are you prepared for such a thing? That would be one of the things that is the lesson learned challenge, but also an opportunity. Like I said moments ago, leadership is an interesting thing. And whether you are operating your own independent business, your coaching business, whatever it is that you are leading and running point on, when things happen that you aren't prepared for, it evokes a couple of different emotions. And the one that I am really hopeful that people take notice of is I think all of us are really wanting to feel normal right now. I want to know what it feels like to go walk into a grocery store without a mask on, have a happy hour with friends that's not on Zoom. There are go get the hair done. Goodness gracious, there are things that you want to do to just feel like things were before, like they were normal. And my concern with that is that people are going to jump into what's next, and not take a second to recognize the lessons that have just presented themselves for us, right? So, whether we like to admit it or not, we've just been through, some of us still going through it in a very significant way, 7 to 8 weeks of a test. What was the test and what did we learn from it? I've used it in different language, talking to my kids in the evening at the end of the day and talking about the moral of the story, right? The kids understand that. What is the moral of the story today? Right? And you learn cool things like, my sibling is my best friend. I don't need to, I miss school, so they're learning different morals. Some of the morals I'm learning now are also things that I learned in 2007, 2008. And I know we don't necessarily want to compare the two things, but if I hadn't taken the time to learn the lessons in 2007, 2008 recessionary period as an agent, I wouldn't have been as prepared as I was for this event. So it's super important, I believe, to take a minute before you launch out. Buyers are looking, sellers are looking to sell. There's stuff going on, certainly in the United States, that is suggesting that we are bouncing back here. But take a second before you get wrapped up into the bounce back, into the activities that make you feel normal. Recognize the lessons learned, recognize the things that you will do differently. And that could be operational expenses and being operationally excellent. That could mean new routines. That could be becoming an early adopter for technology, not fighting some of the things that you're seeing coming down the pike. It could mean, for us in a family, it was, silly things, but kind of, big deal things. We recognized very quickly with just finances how much we were spending eating out. Right? And that wasn't giving us time back. It certainly wasn't giving us health back. But, is there a better balance of things? Are there points in your business that you've gotten a little bit lazy? We've discovered that in this time, more people are saying, I didn't like to have to make this decision, but I needed to, and I needed to well before this event. It's this event, though, that pushed me into making that decision or making that pivot or change.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. We've all had, as business owners, we've all had to make decisions to become more efficient, because you don't know what the income streams are going to be like 30, 60, 90 days. There's unknowns. But it also allows us to realize, well, I'll tell you, one of the things I've realized, Amy, is how exceptional my people are. I have an amazing crew. And as we've kind of scaled down a little bit, everybody has stepped up, and then they've done it from a work from home environment. So to me, it's been like, I don't know, I'm like a proud dad. I'm like, I love my people, and they have just really shown me what they're capable of doing during this pandemic. Are you seeing the same thing with your team?
Absolutely over the top. It is, I think the first couple of days, it was a struggle for every individual to create a new routine. And that's one of the things that maybe we all need to look at fixing, right? I'm speaking from experiences. From a routine perspective, I'm completely out of control. I got to get back on the routine piece. But learning what we're capable of is one of the coolest things that has happened over the last 6-7 weeks. I've always been really, really incredibly proud of my team. I have passion drivers that own their units and own their areas, but this gave an opportunity for them to step outside of their comfort zones even more, push themselves even more, and I've never been so proud. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You realize that the people that you have hand selected to be part of your team was to be able to handle a test like this, right? Like you set it all up perfectly for this moment.
Yeah. So how do you address the brokers, the franchise owners that are struggling with making changes? Like they are stuck in the old way of doing things and they want to continue doing it that way, hoping it's all going to go away. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I think you can't continue thinking that things are going to go back to the way that they were and that nothing has changed is another form of burying your head in the sand, right? Things have changed. You need to go back and reset expectations. Your business plan that was perfectly dialed in by the end of December, come March, for some of you that has been completely blown out of the water. So how do you reset with new technologies, new expectations, both in operational excellence but also in training, in development, in being digital and offering to your consumers an experience that they expect right now, making sure that things are safer. We're in the situation we're in right now. You kind of have to look reality in the face and then also look a little bit forward looking and figure out where you're going to be innovative, because if you're not, and something like this comes back around, I know that there's people who are speculating that could happen later fall, into the winter months or the cooler months. You will be fully prepared if you are thinking forward. If not, if this is a bury your head in the sand moment, and you haven't looked back at the lessons and learned, Oprah, I have quoted her a couple times now, but Oprah is known to have been to say, I didn't know I was learning a lesson until I learned it for the second time, which is a big deal. Recognize the lesson that you're learning before you have to learn it for a second time, right? Hate to be back in the same situation feeling like you're not prepared. This is the moment. This is the opportunity to seize and change the business to make sure that it is somewhat bulletproof if we end up here again.
Yeah, I like that. It's so to the broker that's having a bury your hand in the sand moment, you say, pull your head out of the sand. Like, is it okay to be direct? Is it okay to say, look, this is the new abnormal. It's I was just on a call with a tremendous agent in New York, right in the middle of Westchester, where the pandemic is brutal. And like they literally had somebody on their team lose someone today to coronavirus. And he was talking about what they're doing and how they're still transacting, and they're doing virtual open houses, and he did a virtual open house and had 11 people register, and his buyer's agent signed 5 buyer broker agreements off of that virtual open house. They are not allowed to go outside. They are in total lockdown and they are doing business. And so, boy, it's humbling to be around people that are just so motivated to serving. I don't know, Amy, what you think about this, but I feel like there's these life events that cause real estate transactions to occur, and you and I don't control them. There's nothing we can do. People, they get married, they get divorced, they upsize, they downsize, they get relocated, they lose their jobs, and all of these things cause real estate to occur. And we have to decide whether or not we want to be a trusted resource for them. They don't move because of us, right? We don't talk them into buying or selling, but we certainly can create an environment that allows them to move forward in whatever their situation is. And that's kind of how I'm thinking about the messaging to the people who put their head in the sand is, why wouldn't you want to serve today?
Yeah. Well, and there's not a whole lot different in the demand of what a consumer needs. In fact, we did a survey that was through our media company recently in regard to COVID, and the consumer today is saying they need an agent more today than they have ever needed. But they need an agent who is honest. They need an agent who is transparent. They need an agent who has technology ability, because there's a lot of people that are just not very comfortable with going back to the old ways of doing business. They need that technology edge to help them through that. If that is the need of our consumer, that's not different. Our job is to serve the need of buyers and sellers, and this is the need right now. People still need to buy, people still need to sell, and they need you to be visible and the voice of reason. But also, I'm going to go bigger than that and say that our economy, our not just the consumer, but the country needs us as an industry to help consumers feel confident that we're going to move forward. And if they want to buy and sell a house, that we're there to help them do that and encourage them so with statistics and safety and protocol, but to serve. Absolutely. That has never changed.
It is interesting though, is we have a lot of agents that are when I listen to webinars and I hear in the questions and the urgency in their voice, and I see in the body language on Zoom that they're afraid, like they're afraid. And so because they have fear, they're telling their clients they should step back or not be ready to move forward, even though it's not their life situation that's causing the move to happen. And so how do you address that fear? How do you keep people from being immobile because of fear? Because fear is a great inhibitor of growth.
It is. Fear causes all kinds of emotions, and it can cause emotions that make you bury your head in the sand, or jump into fear pockets, right, with other people where it feels comfortable to share what you saw on the news that was super scary, or you have a friend of a friend of a friend who told you a story that was really, really terrible, and you kind of you live in that negative, in that fear space. Some people are really comfortable with that. Fear also, though, creates that, that opportunity, that drive for creativity, and the drive to support people and provide value in a time that they really need it most. And I think that the best way to do that is logic, right? One of the first things almost every business coach, every company put out was, don't sell, right? This is all about relationships. It's about connections. It's about support. You got to serve before you sell. But there's something that I learned from another coach that I thought was brilliant. There's a lot of us who have just been listening and listening and listening and listening and listening, and just putting all of that on our shoulders, right? Carrying that, the emotions and the concerns and the fear of everybody we talk to on our backs, because we want to be there for our consumer, and we want to call and see how they're doing and ask questions, and we pile it up and pile it up and pile it up, and then feel like we don't know what to say in response. But really, the power in busting through fear is then taking that off, releasing that, and offering an opportunity for them to be empowered. And that comes with statistics. That comes with facts. What is actually going on in your backyard, in your neighborhood, with your MLS? What information as an agent can you provide that's gonna provide that kind of it's going to change the uncertainty piece of the coin, and it's going to provide a confidence level of, okay, these are the facts. People are still buying and selling. These are the facts. This is how many people have sold properties virtually. Any statistic or fact, right? Logic is what's going to overpower that emotional response. Take in the emotion, empathize, by all means empathize, and serve and listen. But at some point, it's not healthy for anybody just to do the listening and absorbing. You got to turn it around and empower people to make decisions that they want to make with statistics and logic.
I had emotions while you were talking about that.
Yeah.
Several. One is that, like, I can see you piling on all of this data and all of this information and carrying that weight. Yeah. And then I also saw the release you had as you had the data to back up how it was okay to pass it along. Was it John that shared that with you?
No, the empathy and authenticity came from Dermot Buffini.
Love that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, not authenticity. It was empathy and authority. Empathize, but at some point you are the authority in what we're doing here, and provide that and push that forward. I switched it to empower.
Well, I love that. And I love that we have so many great leaders that help us think differently. And, I honestly feel this way. I think everybody should be coached. And it doesn't matter if it's coached by me or Brian Buffini or John Cheplack. There's amazing people out there that resonate and have a different way of getting you to look at things. And so finding someone that helps you see things in a way that causes you to be able to release. Like, I saw the release you had as you took that off. It just made you feel better. And then you backed it up with data. To me, that is so empowering and so impactful to me, to see that you can work through those things. And I think there's a lot of people that carry that weight upon themselves, and they don't know how to back it up with data. I love this comment that Cleve shared with me the other day. Cleve Gaddis is one of our master coaches and a great RE/MAX agent. As we were talking about dialogue, he likes to say, when anybody asks me how the market is, I stop telling them and I say, are you by your computer? Because everybody is. And so if you're by your computer, instead of me going into sales mode, I just want to give you data and show you people are buying, people are selling, people are price increasing. This is how many went under contract. And there's this, he calls it a river of real estate that is continuing to move forward. And whether we're engaged in it or not, it's going to flow. So we have to decide the only way to get involved in the river is to prospect. You got to be at the front of the mind of people. And if you're not doing that, then the river is going to move on without you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've been, as a headquarter company, data that we look at a regular basis that I know a lot of agents have access to is showing time. Showing time and how many properties are on the market and what they're, the showings
Right.
will give you some really great information to give to your consumers. And again, something that you could just share your screen in Zoom, look up your marketplace and show them what's really going on.
So I'm curious from your perspective, what do you think are some of the things that are never going to change, like we're not going to go back to? What are the things that are going to stay as a result of what we've experienced and adapted to during the pandemic?
I'm still trying to digest all of that because I'm one of those people that, there are certain things that I'd like to feel a little bit more normalcy in, but the technology piece, the digital space, heard somebody else put it this way, that we have experienced 5 years of innovation in the digital space in 3 months.
Yeah.
You don't get to bounce back from that. There's no going back to, I really think that going forward, there's got to be a balance between what's live and what is virtual and what is digital, and how we use technology to build relationships. And again, it's going to be very, very important for both to exist. The relationship piece has never been more important. And if we can use technology to be able to build stronger relationships and more connections, reach more people, then that has changed our industry forever, right? I don't think that those things will be going back. From a health perspective and a safety perspective, there are probably things that we have been a little bit lazy and maybe even a little gross about as a society. That have, reminded me, you teach your kids to wash their hands when they're little, and you tell them to, sing the alphabet twice back to back before they rinse their hands, and yet it may not be that you have modified that type of behavior for yourself. There are things from a safety and health perspective I think we will that will change us forever, including I don't know how concerts and other major events that we go to. And I'm a huge concert and sports fan, and I love festivals. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to change that way of life, because that social interaction I crave every day. So I'm just hoping that there's a way to pivot that doesn't lose that for me.
Yeah, I think instead of our t-shirts lighting up, it'll be our face masks. I hope that's not true. It's a lot of fun. My favorite sound right now is my little 3-year-old granddaughter in the bathroom washing her hands and singing "Happy Birthday" twice.
Happy birthday. We do ABCs. Same deal.
It's such a, and she makes sure she sings it loud enough so we all think it's actually her birthday.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's such a cute thing.
I like that idea.
It's such a cute thing. And so I think those are some things that aren't going to go back. What about this? I was thinking about this the other day when somebody posed the same question to me about what's not going to go back to the same. I think the way we show properties can drastically change. Like, it's so much more efficient to do all these virtual showings and then get it down to the 3 or 4 you actually want to get into, and then only take people who are qualified and safe to go look at those houses. Like, I think it's going to change.
That is not going to change. And funny, this is just so strange. We seem to change that behavior with the market, right? You look at some of the hottest markets we've ever had, and that's how we did business. It was not necessarily going into the house, but it was, okay, we need you to get the market. Homes are flying off the market, multiple offers. We've got to be fast at this. So there's no time to show you 41 properties for you to hem and haw over, what you might be interested in, because by the time you do, it's gone. All the different markets that have been super hot, we have pivoted in that way, and then it shifts a little bit. We go back to this, this way of, showing properties and spending time with buyers. Yeah, the saving of time, I think, is going to stick around, and that instead of the ebbing and flowing with what kind of market it is, I think we're always going to want to have highly qualified buyers that are narrowing down their decision before we get anywhere close to showing the property.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's more efficient, which means when we create more efficiencies like that, we'll be able to create greater scale. We'll have better agents because they do more transactions because they're spending less time doing things that don't matter as much as they used to.
That is correct. I agree with you. And then again, you're empowering the consumer to streamline the process, get really clear on what they want. The consultative process becomes very, very, very clear from the agent to the consumer perspective, and then you've got to make sure that your negotiation skills are on par.
Yeah. You know, Amy, you're a goer. You go about, I don't know of anybody that goes as fast or as hard as I do, but you're right up there. I think we go pretty hard, and you travel a ton, and you're doing events, and you're on the road supporting your regions. How has that changed your family dynamic to go from being so much gone and focused to being home all of a sudden all the time? Is there a silver lining in all of this for you?
Yeah, a few, I think. We are actually maybe in the market to buy a camper, which has never been a thing for me. But instead of having to schedule, vacations in and around my work schedule, that not being exactly where our comfort zone is right now, I do want to spend the time with my kids and have experiences that we wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to have. So the idea of getting outdoors, going to see some really great, national treasures and monuments, where that was not near my priority zone. I think I was more, let's go to the beach so mom can, dissolve and just kind of fall apart. This now it's more about the experiences and the learning and it's been really good. I mean, I think we're all challenged by the new schedule, being, teaching family at home while we're trying to juggle in between Zoom, presentations and run a team and provide the value that we know is out there. But like I said, the routine piece is something that I've been failing out and plan to reset here. We've learned what we're capable of, but I don't know that that operating at this capacity is sustainable. There's got to be a point to, what's the moral, right? What's the moral of the story? What's the lesson? And reprioritize and re-routine your day.
Yeah, as we start to open up, I know that I've been home too much. My wife says, yeah, I'm going out with my other friends, the ones that I go out with when you're out of town, because I miss them because you've been home so much. So I think she's ready to re-engage with other humans besides her husband.
I can understand that. We're doing pretty well here for the most part, but yeah, we miss our social interactions. We are the people who have dinner parties and that kind of thing. So that's been probably the toughest change.
Yeah, for us, it's dinner parties with just our kids. Like, we've missed having them all over every Sunday, and we're starting to lighten up here in Salt Lake. So I think we're going to start bringing that back in. But it's been a weird dynamic. I just miss the family.
We did a Zoom happy 90th birthday party for my grandfather and a Zoom Easter with our family across the country. So one of the cool things that has come out of this is, certainly there was no need to Zoom your family members who live 30 minutes away. But 90 years old, they're in a class of high risk, so right. That we weren't taking any chances. But I wake up every morning, and before I get downstairs, my youngest is already on Facebook, Messenger for kids with her cousin in Minnesota. And that's a relationship and a bond that they're building that they probably never ever would have without this. So the family relations and connections, instead of waiting for major birthdays and major holidays, we're doing that more regularly. And so that's kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. It's changing the way we the way we connect with people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more interactive than being like this on your phone, like with kids usually are when they're together. Now, all of a sudden they're doing Zooms and face-to-face. While we have Amy here, I want to encourage you to just go into Facebook Live and go into the comment section and just ask any questions. You've got a world-class leader here who's making a big impact on not only her franchise and the franchisees that they serve, but also the industry as a whole. Brent Gray reposted your quote. This is quoting Amy. He said that the country needs us as an industry to help consumers feel confident that we are going to move forward. That is such an impactful statement. I don't know if agents really do believe how valuable and how important they are in the resurgence of our economy that is suffering so bad right now.
It is I don't like to use words like critical, but I think it's critical in this time. And they're finding solace in people who are studying what's going on with the markets and making them feel confident. I think it's a really big deal.
Yeah, I do too, and I really appreciate that. So we talked about silver lining for family. I think it's so funny. I was on a coaching call with a client yesterday who just bought a four-wheeler side-by-side and was going to buy a camper. Like literally, this is a 7-figure team. And she was like, you know what? we can do business virtually. And I'm going camping on the weekends. I'm going with my boys to the motorcycle races, but I'm not staying in their camper because it stinks. I'm going to have my own, and I want to go out there and be with them. So it's funny that the very next day you're talking about the same thing. My brother, Joe, who's lives in Houston, he runs a dealership for a company called Ron Hoover, and they sell boats and RVs. The boat side of the business has been really slow. The RV side of the business is absolutely unreal. And so there's a lot of people right now, they're in that same mode that, you know what, I'm tired of these four walls. Let's get out and experience the world safely.
Yeah, well, and that is why I can't seem to find one.
Hey, well, I got people in Texas, so maybe you have to bring one up.
Good to know. Good to know. Thank you.
It's a good road trip. What are some of the strategies, and this is a question from Brent wants to know, what are some of the strategies that RE/MAX is employing as they begin to bring employees back to work at the headquarters? Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah, well, we are talking through that right now. It's a significant hot point. I obviously oversee several field teams, right? Teams that travel quite a bit. Zoom has been a great opportunity for them. And I think also what we've learned is we can be high capacity, high value offering teams using digital technology, using virtual and live technology. So it is a question. I think what we're looking at is the essential roles, people who have really struggled not to be able to do their jobs as efficiently in the building. So I can only really speak for myself. I could tell you that our production team, who has done a phenomenal, just over the top. They talk about a team I'm so proud of. They've been working and running so hard, and they've been doing it all from individual homes, right? Using B-roll and technology and content that we had built prior, or things that we're trying to take off of Facebook Live or off Zoom webinars, or, YouTube, if you will. So we are dancing. We are very productive. We're doing a great job, but they are looking forward to getting back into the building. Just the capacity of their computers and the editing equipment, that kind of thing. That is one of those things that would be essential for being in the building. So our finance teams, those kinds of things. People who absolutely essentially need to be in the building, they would go first, and then we're really looking at what other opportunities look like, and it's probably going to be a slow go getting everybody back in the building.
So I've had two emotions. One is I just leased more space right before the pandemic, so I have all this space, and I'm thinking I wish I hadn't done that. But now I'm thinking, well, now at least when everybody comes back, they can spread out, so we can all be more spread out and not be so close.
No, I think that the social distance piece is not going to, again, probably not going to change. So it may look very different for commercial space in regard to cubicles versus hoteling versus kind of the cafe concept, and people come in and out, and you only allow a certain amount of people in a certain square footage at a time. But yeah, I think it's too early to call. Things are changing, as everybody knows. It feels like changing a year a day, and so we're just kind of trying to get in front of it. And this is a major point, not just for us but for others, is what are the what if plans, right? What if this happens? What if this, the governor, puts us back to stay at home? What if people don't feel comfortable going in the building? What if people don't feel comfortable traveling? There's a lot of what ifs, and if you can put together what if plans, right? Reset expectations. What if these things happen and you feel comfortable, no matter which way things turn?
So everything you talk about, it seems like you have a strategy behind it. You don't knee jerk. You strategize the what if scenarios, and then you implement. Would you say that strategy is a big part of your methodology of success?
Strategy and just kind of living, and I say kind of living, definitely living intentional and proactive, right? How can you be in control? And certainly in times like this, and I would imagine that there are people on Facebook Live who feel the same way. I don't want to call myself a control freak, but when things feel out of my control, my first inclination is strategy, proactivity, and making sure that I'm living with intention, because that is how I can feel in control. So when there's something like a pandemic going on and I can't change those things, what things can I control? What do I have control over? And creating strategy and figuring out what that looks like, having what if plans, makes me feel in control.
So I think that may be your gift. You know, yeah, like seriously, like some people have, like when they're confronted with an obstacle or things out of their control, they panic or they withdraw or they get angry. You know, some people, they lash out at the people they care about the most, and because that's how they show stress. But if you're able to take whatever crazy things going on in your world and say, okay, what can I control? What can I not control? Let's focus on what I can control, get my mind around it, put a plan together, and then go. I think that gift, that ability to lead others with that kind of a thought process is what makes you unique and what makes you special in the world that we're in. And I love that you're willing to share that with us.
Oh, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. I don't know that everybody, including my husband, would think that that is a gift, or or unique in any way. But it is something that on a regular basis, like if you want to be in control of how you feel, recognize how you like to feel and what things create those feelings, right? Those emotions, then go make it happen, right? Go control that.
Yeah, I like to say, and I'm reminded of this constantly, is that our strengths are also our weaknesses. The
Right.
things that make us great are the things that cause us challenges in other areas of our lives. And so when you say my husband may disagree, I have this, I experience the same things in my own life. The things that make us great, the energy and the enthusiasm. Sometimes my wife will say to me, "You can't sell me on this." Which means that she knows when I'm in sales mode.
It's kind of like talking about buying a trailer or a
Right.
camper, and he said, "Yeah, I guess we're not really talking about this. I know how you work. This is happening.
It's a strategy. You've got a plan in
I'm
place.
going to control that."
That's awesome. So this is just a more of a fun question, but I'm thinking about, you have so much interaction with so many amazing people that have done some incredible things. What are a couple of things that you've witnessed that you're really proud of, or that you really go, wow, we have an amazing group? What are some of the things that you've seen that make you go, this is why I'm glad I am where I am?
Oh, so many things. You know, one of them you were a part of. When all of this happened 7 weeks ago, I just picked up the phone. It was an overwhelming pressure, right? Feeling of people need us, people need us, people need ideas, they need connection, they need best practices, they need inspiration. We have to be out in front of this. We can't disappear. We have to be visible. And I picked up the phone and I called all of my coach friends, including you, Verl. And I was so moved by the fact that every conversation I had was, I can't pay you, right? I can't offer you anything other than to say that people will never forget how you made them feel. People will never forget what you did for them in this time. And every single person I called said, "You bet, absolutely. You work for the most productive agents in the world, and here's our opportunity to give back. Tell us what we can do. Absolutely, tell us the date, time. We're here for you." Verl, you then reached out to me several times after that to say, how are you? How's your family? Anything I can do for you? You just let me know. Text me anytime. The fact that people who were, we're all in this together. There weren't people who were faring better than others for the most part, until of course we have some of these states who are still not opening up. And I send so many thoughts and prayers your direction that changes here soon. But people who just needed somebody else to lean on. So I would say I've been overwhelmingly impressed by the giving nature of not just my team, my leadership team, the agents and the brokers in the network, but the coaches worldwide, who have been just willing to serve and give and connect. That has made a mark, something I'll never forget.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm actually blown away by the same thing. And many of us as coaches, even though we're competitors, are sharing with each other.
Right.
Like, what are you doing for your people? How are you helping people that need additional help right now? We had a call with all of my coaches, and we only have about 60 coaches. So we're not one of the big behemoth companies out there, but we have a good group. They have people that have said, "Hey, I can't pay for coaching," and they never stopped coaching them. Like, they volunteered to, how do I continue to help these people until they can come back? And it's just been like, that's what I'm proud. I'm proud of the people that are around me that are just continuing to give, regardless of whether or not it comes back to them. It's just who they are.
Yeah. Another really important point is the collaboration that we have experienced over the last 7-8 weeks. that is something I think will continue to go forward. Is we did the same thing with our webinars. We posted them on, we live streamed them to YouTube. Anybody who could benefit, anybody who could experience, just some words of wisdom, hearing something said in a way that somebody needed to hear it today. Maybe yesterday it wouldn't have been as impactful, but today they really needed to hear it. We wanted to make sure that everybody had access to it. So I do believe that the collaboration and the collaborative nature of the world, right? Not just our industry, not just other companies, but globally, the collaboration that I've seen has been over the top wonderful. Awesome. Love it.
You have tremendous admirers on the Facebook Live. A lot of people saying thank you, and thank you for the insights and things that you share. As we wrap this up, Amy, I would just love to have a couple of parting thoughts from you. How would you like to leave the audience? What thought would you like to leave everybody with as we wrap up this flash briefing today?
Oh goodness. I first and foremost, my mind, my heart is with all of you. Hope you all are staying safe and healthy, and that your families are safe and healthy. I would also say that it has been a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. And if there's anything I would leave you with, is just a quick acronym and something that I am following on a regular basis to make sure that I'm in a better spot and ready for the bounce back. It is the acronym LEAD. Right? That's what we need right now, is we need strong leaders. So the acronym LEAD is L, lessons. Review what lessons you've learned, even if it's on a, at the end of each week, at the end of each day. What did I learn today that is a lesson that I can be innovative and make sure that I'm in a better space? What are the what if plans that I can put in place so that I can be proactive and intentional? E would be expectations. Set new expectations for yourself and for others, making sure that you're building in safe plans, making sure that you have a new business plan, making sure that you are providing knowledge, statistics, information that's going to set new expectations and help with the emotional piece, which then again leads me to A, which is authority. Don't just be the empathizer, the connector who bears all the weight of the emotional responses and feelings of everybody that you know and serve right now. Give them back authority and empower them with the statistics and the logic. And then D is develop. There's never been an opportunity to recognize the opportunity you have to build your business in the way that you've said that you didn't have time to. Review every time that you have said to yourself, I don't have time for this in the last year. Right? I would love to do that, but I just don't have time. I'd love to read that business book, but I don't have time. I'd love to take that designation or certification. I don't have time. I'd love to sign up for coaching with Workman Success. I don't have time. Anytime you've said, I don't have time, this is the time, right? This is the time for development to put your business in a better place than it was 7 weeks ago. So I guess that would be the acronym LEAD.
That is a great way to wrap this up. And Amy, it's more clear to me today than ever before why you're the Senior Vice President of Professional Development and a true great leader in the industry. Thank you for being here. On behalf of the Workman Success family and all of our followers, I just want to say thank you, and continue to lead and develop the agents and the franchises. And I wish you the greatest amount of success.
Thank you, Verl, and to you too. Thank you to you and for everything your team is doing for this industry as well. Can't thank you enough, and love our relationship with you.
Thanks, Amy.